Ruchim Habaim, welcome friends. I'm currently studying the Zohar and the prologue in Bereshis, the first book of the Zohar, on chapter 2, and it's titled The Flower Buds. And it begins like this. It says, Bereshis Rabbi Shimon Pesach Hanitzanim Niru Be'eretz. It says, in the beginning, Bereshis 1:1, Rabbi Shimon quoted the verse, "The flower buds appear on the earth." Shir Hashirim 2:12. The flower buds refer to the act of creation. Appear on the earth. When? On the third day, as it is written, and the earth brought forth. So, just from my studying, trying to break this down a bit, it's, we see Rabbi Shimon, which corresponds to Bina, quotes the verse in Shir Hashirim 2:12, flower buds appear on the earth. Now, the blossoms, the flower buds, are really the mystical secret of the 6 levels of Zeranpin. The composite profile of the 6 sphirot from Chesed to Yesod that stand upon the earth, which represents Malchut, which is the 7th. And these 6 levels correspond to Abraham, which is Chesed, and Yitzhak, which is Gevurah, and Yaakov, which is Tiferes, and Yachin and Boaz. And these are the names of the 2 pillars that were in the Beis Hamikdash courtyard, corresponding to Netzach and Hod. And Yosef corresponds to Yesod. And this is implied actually by the word blossoms, or the flower buds, hanitzanim, which the hay is alluded to Abraham, because originally his name was Avram, and Hashem added the hay to his name. Okay? And the noon corresponds to Yitzhak. How? Because the gematria of noon is 50, referring to the 50 gates of Bina, from which the severities of Gevurah are aroused. And the Zadi alludes to Yosef, who is called Yosef Hatzadik. And the noon corresponds to Yaakov, which represents Tiferes, which is the 5th sphirah from the bottom up. And every sphirah comprises 10 sub-levels, totaling 50. And Yud corresponds to the first letter of the name of Yakin. And Mem corresponds to Moshe's name, the first letter of Moshe's name, regarding whom the Pasuk, which it says in Bamidbar 27:20, states, invest him with some of your splendor, which represents Hod. And all of them appear on the earth in Malchus. And as it says, appear on the earth represents the holy city in Eretz Israel, Yerushalayim, which corresponds to Malchus. And all the 6 levels mentioned invested in Malchus of Atzilut, which descends in order to animate the worlds of Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. And therefore, precisely those mentioned explicitly are buried in Eretz Israel in Malchus, excluding Aaron and Moshe, who correspond to Netzach and Hod. Not explicitly mentioned here, since they were not buried in Eretz Israel. And so it says, the flower buds appear on the earth. And when HaKodesh Baruch Hu created the world, he embedded in the earth all the powers that were fitting for it. All of those powers were there, but they did not emerge until Adam was created. And as soon as Adam was created, they were ready to emerge. And the earth brought forth all its fruits and powers that had been invested in at that time of creation. Similarly, the heavens did not give their powers to the earth in the form of rain until Adam appeared. As the Pasuk states, all the plants did not yet exist on the earth, and all the grasses of the field had not yet sprouted, because God had not yet brought rain upon the earth. And since there was no man to work the land, as it says in Bereshit 2:5, there was no man to pray for rain. This teaches us the Holy One longs for the prayers of the Tzaddikim. All of this potential had not yet manifested in the world for only one reason. There was not yet any conscious being that could recognize what they were good for, and so everything was in a state of suspended animation. But as soon as man appeared, immediately the flower buds appeared on the earth, and all the powers of the earth came into revelation. And then it's the time of the bird's melody, as it goes on to say, since then they have been seen on the earth. The time the singing bird, also pruning, is come, alludes to the fourth day when the pruning of the tyrants took place. It's interesting, in the fourth day, the Midrash, the rabbis discuss when the angels were created. Some say it was on day 2, some say on the fourth day. But it talks about the time of the singing bird. And this refers to the ministering malachim to establish ritual order of song and praise of HaKodesh Baruch Hu. This too did not take place until Adam was created. Not only did lower forms of life depend on the creation of man, but even the highest forms of life other than man, the malachim, had no function until man was created. And so it says, therefore of this day it is written, let there be luminaries, Bereshit 1:14, with the letter Vav missing from the word of luminaries. The Hebrew word luminaries, when written without a Vav, can be read as a curse, as we see here, me'oros. And so it's missing the Vav. And it says, and the voice of the turtle dove, Shir HaShirim 2:12, refers to the fifth day, about which it is written, let the waters swarm, Bereshit 1:20, so they can produce offspring. So it says there was a voice, the turtle dove, the voice of the turtle dove. And the voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land refers to the words of HaKodesh Baruch Hu, which were not heard until man was created. For it was only then that the divine command was heard, telling Adam that he could eat all of the fruits of Gan Eden, other than the fruits of the Eitz Hadas. Thus, the Pasuk states, Kol HaTor, literally the voice of doves, cooing of doves, but alluding to the voice, Kol of Torah, because Tor, or Kol HaTor, the voice of the dove. Well, the word Tor can actually has the same letters of Torah in a different permutation. And the sound of Torah was first heard in our land. Thus, when man was created, everything became a reality, the reality of Torah, which is divine communication. And so it says, the fifth day, this refers to the fifth day, which is written, let the waters swarm, Bereshit 1:20, so they can produce offspring. And offspring produces, which is seed, zerah, referring to Yesod. And it is heard, Shir HaShirim 2:12, refers to the sixth day on which it says, let us make man. So we see reproduction, which comes from the organ of Yesod. And who shall put action before listening? Because it says here, let us make man. Well, there on Mount Sinai, when Hashem asked Israel about the Torah, they said, we will do and obey. Na'aseh v'nishma, we will listen. Shemot 24:7. In our land, Shir HaShirim 2:12 refers to the day of Shabbos, which represents the land of life, which is the world to come. And going on, it says another explanation is that the flowers of the patriarchs who come to thought, which is thought in the mind, which represents Biriyah, and came into the world to come, Bina, namely Bina, where they were hidden. And this is referring to Yetzirah. They emerged from there secretly and hid themselves among the true prophets, which represent Netzach and Hod. And Yosef was born, and they hid him again to Yesod. When Yosef entered the Holy Land, he revealed the presence, and then they appear on the earth, Malchut, and were seen there. And when are they seen? When the rainbow is seen in the sky. The rainbow is associated with the bris. And because when the rainbow is seen, then they appear. And at that moment, the time of pruning has come. This means that this is the period to cut the wicked from the world. But why were the wicked saved? Because the flowers appear on the earth. If they had not already appeared so long ago, the wicked would not have to have remained on the earth, and the world would have been destroyed. And so going on to the last verse here, it says, and who sustains the world and causes the patriarchs to appear? It is the voices, which is associated with Malchut, of the children who study the Torah, and the world is saved from destruction for the sake of these children. Zerampin, and the difference to them, it is written, we will make you necklets of gold, Shir Hashirim. And this refers to the children, boys, and young men, as it is written, you shall make 2 cherubs of gold. And so it says, we will make you necklets of gold. Bands of gold we will make for you. Who sustains the world and causes the Avos, the highest supernal attributes that generate all the others, Keser, Chochmah, and Bina, to become revealed? The answer is the voices, the young children occupied with Torah study. The world is saved in the merit of those children. Accordingly, the bands of gold are young children. As the Pasuk states in Shemos 25:18, and you shall make 2 cherubim of gold. The rabbis say the cherubs really had the faces of children. I believe this is what Rashi says. And it says each extremity of the lid of Aaron was fashioned from gold that had been hammered into the likeness of Malachim. Yes, the faces of young children, 1 male and 1 female, corresponding to Netzach and Hod respectively. It was from between these cherubim the voice of God issued forth to Moshe, and accordingly the fulfillment of the vision of the Avos, and hence their fullest revelation is through the manifestation of prophecy deriving from Netzach and Hod, as revealed to Moshe. Bands of gold, it is written in the plural. It alludes to the 2 dimensions of the Torah. Similarly to the explanation offered above, as it says the word Torah, bands, is expounded as a construct plural from a plural form of Torah. Torah, as we see right here, Torah. And so the revealed dimension of Torah was given in the days of Pharaoh. The esoteric dimension is the new knowledge that will be revealed in the Messianic era. And it says, we will make for you. It says, we will make, and not I will make. Now that all of the supernal sources of the levels are aligned directly above the Beis HaMikdash to endow it with supernal garments, we will make them supernal garments from the tip of the uppermost point, Chochmah of Atzilut, to the very foundation of Yesod Zerampin. The Beis HaMikdash itself corresponds to Malchus. Accordingly, the plural form we is used to indicate that the garments are fashioned from a multitude of levels. Since the Beis HaMikdash is fully endowed with all its supernal garments, the Shekinah could therefore descend into it. And bands of gold will make you bands of gold, which derive from the aspect of Gevurah. We will make for you together with silver embroidery. which derives from the aspect of chesed, so that strict justice can be tempered, sweetened with compassion, and there is no severity without mercy. The spheroids were initially emanated as pure points of intense light, so the chesed was pure chesed with no admixture of gevurah, and gevurah was pure gevurah with no admixture of chesed, and so on. However, precisely because of the purity and intensity of the light, the vessels of the spheros were unable to contain them, and they shattered. This prior form of creation is called tohu, chaos, and is referenced in Bereshit 1:2. Subsequently, the spheros emanated in mutually supporting interdependent arrays where Chesed and Gevurah harmonize and blend, such that a proper mixture of the two results in a bearable and stable revelation of Chesed and Gevurah to finite created beings. And this is called the world of Tikkun, rectification. The Beis Hamikdash was the embodiment of this principle of harmonization. And so that is a little bit of my study through the prologue, the flower buds of the Zohar, just sharing some insights of my learning. And also, it's interesting that we were discussing about how the beginning and the fathers were in the thought of Hashem. But so the Midrash Rabbah also says the fathers, the forefathers, the people of Israel, the holy temple, and the name of Mashiach entered the thought of God to be created prior to creation of the world. This is how we understand that Mashiach was with Hashem in the beginning. He was in the thought of God. And on that note, have a good Shabbos.